before we start re-engage this past fall of having features such as the ability to track the ride, being able to purchase tickets online, and different type of features. So what we're going to do on Wednesday night is that we're going to have different boards set up and just get attendees feedback on the type of things they would like to see moving forward as we move to improve the operations of STAR. For those that aren't able to attend on Wednesday, the online engagement form mirrors the boards that will be presented. The boards that will be presented on Wednesday will be available after the meeting on Wednesday. And those focus areas that I read will be the boards there Wednesday night, and they also are the questions that are in the engagement. So just wanted to invite you all to that, come before you and just offer you that opportunity so we can make STAR the best that it can be. And that's all I have for this evening. Any questions?
Mr. Edwards, this is Alexa. I just wanted to let you know that I have heard from a couple of people that they said that they would have wanted a little bit more advance notice. So I'm wondering, is there a specific policy about how soon you let folks know about upcoming events? Just because I've heard a couple of people say that it seemed to be that they didn't find out about it with much lead time.
Yes, well, we first announced it, as you are aware, at the at the accessibility subcommittee meeting on the 16th. Then there was
Right.
a then there was an email sent out to all users last week, and there's going to be a postcard mailer sent out for people to be able to fill out the engagement form if they're not able to attend in person. Again, the in-person open house is going to mirror the exact same thing as the online feedback form. I know that there was a question during the accessibility subcommittee about possibly pushing it back, but since the questions are the exact same and it will be the exact same materials, we wanted to offer an in-person option and also that virtual hybrid option of being able to provide the feedback online.
Okay, but there isn't like a standard for when you let people know about an upcoming event or something like that.
I'd have to check with our CAPES team as far as what the actual standard is.
Okay, yeah, I'm
This
curious about it because it's something I've heard about a few times.
this is Doris Ray.
Please go ahead.
Okay, and I don't know how to do. I know there is a raised hand function on this, but
That's
I've
okay.
never
Nope, you're
figured
good.
it out.
You're good.
Anyway, well, the first thing is the public notice business, because part of the there were some comments that were made when you were doing the first outreach regarding the lack of adequate announcement of public engagement and surveys and etc. And I know that not being a STAR user, did not receive notice of this meeting until sometime in the middle of this past week. And actually, I think it might not have been till Thursday because, and the reason that's notable to me is we went to Richmond to visit the state legislature on Wednesday, and I don't recall seeing anything about it from anyone until Thursday. But nonetheless, even if something started going out after the 16th of January, I don't feel it meets the standard for an adequate communications plan under FTA, rules for public transit authorities to give adequate notice, and I've never seen a communications plan. Is there a communications plan for Arlington Transit?
Yes, for this engagement, there is a communications plan. I believe that engagement was part of, let me find the message, but that communication plan for this engagement is available on their website. Give me 1 second.
On whose website?
This is actually on the county's website. Let me see here. I will give me 1 moment. So the current engagement, the communications plans for this engagement is available on the Arlington Transit website under STAR. Computer is not moving as fast as I would like for it to move. Give me 1 more moment. But all of the information as far as this engagement and then the
Well,
next.
can you tell me how many days minimum notice it requires and what outlets are required?
For this outlet, what we are doing with this one is that we have provided notification to the accessibility subcommittee about the online engagement. We are mailing postcards to all registered STAR users to inform them about the engagement that will be open until February 14th. We have presented it to the Transit Advisory Committee and the Transit Advisory Committee Accessibility Subcommittee on January the 16th. And we also have these different engagement websites. It has been circulated by the Department of Human Services about this online feedback and various other transportation county channels so that folks
So I
can.
haven't seen anything, and forgive me if I'm wrong about this, on outlets like Inside Arlington.
Yes, it was
Or
distributed. There's a
or how about
transportation.
notices in the Post, Washington Post, and stuff like that?
I'd have to check with our Capes team as far as how far of reach they go out when they do these types of notices, but those are the places we have it currently. And
So when this first, yeah, but how many days in advance, at the minimum, are you putting out notices?
we first notified the accessibility subcommittee of this on January
Well, no,
5th.
that's not what I'm asking for, because that's not what I'm asking for. I meant to the ridership and to beyond the ridership, because one of the comments made, a big part of the comments made at this commission was to broaden that to disability consumer organizations, for example, in Arlington.
Yes, we have been
I mean,
since
it's in the
this.
minutes of our meeting.
Absolutely. And I want to say since December, we have been attempting to coordinate with the Independent Center of Northern Virginia to get
I
time
am
on.
not aware of that at all, and that's
Oh,
where
yes,
I work.
we
That's where
just
I work.
received an email from your executive director today. I can give you the exact details. She has asked to provide us some time that we could have 15 minutes to have an overview. Let me see if I can find her message. She is giving us 15 minutes at a staff meeting and then a couple other times. If you give me a moment, I'll see if I can pull up her message.
But this is for the future, right?
Oh, this is for right now. We wanted to, at the
There isn't a staff meeting until
February 14th, 11:05 to 11:20.
yeah, it's after. I'm talking about notice of the I'm talking about notice for the event on the 31st.
Notice for the event on the 31st.
Mm-hmm.
The first, all Star users, and there were other channels that went out previous to that, all Star users received an email notification on the, what's the day? They received the email notification on the 25th. The opportunity to comment went live the week
The
of
25th was this past Thursday. That's exactly what I'm saying.
However,
People only got less than a week's notice.
That is incorrect. The notification to Star users went out to 25th. However, it hit all county channels the week of the 15th. So it went broad and wide the week of the 15th.
Like, what do you mean by all county channels?
It is on the county website as an opportunity to participate in the Star Focus Area engagement. That went live on the 16th of...
The council's...
Yes, under the transportation website, the Star Focus Area Engagement Open House date was published on the 16th of January.
Okay, and if you that doesn't get to the broader community as we had suggested. But anyway, I won't belabor it any further, but I'm very curious about why some of the issues that have been brought up in various forums, including the TAC subcommittee, accessibility subcommittee, and even at the TAC level itself, regarding significant driver no-shows, regarding excessive weights for vehicles, regarding concerns about if you're going to set up penalties for consumer no-shows, why aren't you setting up penalties for providers, and other issues that certainly have been raised previously, and yet Star right now, you're going forward to things that haven't even become features of Star, that while other issues that have been raised by the ridership aren't being addressed now, particularly if this is planning for an RFP. When will the RFP go out? And when will the contract be? What's the expected date for execution of the contract?
The existing contract for the existing two providers of Red Top and Diamond expires on May 31st. The RFP is in the stages of going through the necessary approvals through the procurement department, the purchasing department. And once a timeline is set for that, we will know when it will be going out, available for vendors that are looking to bid on that.
So all of this is going to affect what's in the budget for that's soon to be introduced by the county.
All of that, yes, all of this will have some level of a bearing on that.
Okay, well, I do have concerns about all of that and visibility of what's going on and notice to ridership, but I'll stop now.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Doris. Do other commissioners have questions for Mr. Edwards?
Again, I do think that I have heard it come up various times that people are concerned that they feel like they should be getting more advance notice. That's why I'm asking, if the county has some standards or something like that. So, I can let folks know, what those standards are. If they have any interest in commenting on that or anything like that, to have something to go on. But again, I don't wish to belabor the point either.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Alexis. So any other questions from the other commissioners? Mr. Edwards, I had, I guess, a question and a comment. Doris, you may correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what Doris was asking for was the general communication plan for your group for just any event, not this type of event that would include
county communication plan.
Right.
Plus,
right.
Plus their required communication plan by FTA,
right.
grantees.
Also, which would include correct, which would include the minimum notification time. So that if we can just put that in the minutes that we have asked for clarification for that. And then the other, I think, comment that I want to raise based on my observations and what some of the other commissioners have said, I understand that you have 4 focus areas: the travel zones, the payment options, the same-day trips, and the potential new features. I'm curious why, about the decision to not include a focus area around service standards, because if an RFP is going to be developed, when an RFP is developed, service, minimum service standards are written into that request for proposal. So I just want to put that out there and ask you that.
Okay, great question. And how we developed the focus areas of this upcoming engagement is that we took the top priorities that we received out of the engagement from the fall. So we basically just, the information we received, we then just honed it down. I think, like Commissioner Ray was saying, all of the comments, and these were the comments that bubbled to the top over and over and over again. So we just used the data that we were provided during the previous engagement. Now, however, there will be operational standards that will be included in the RFP.
Okay.
So we will give proposed vendors a standard for what we're looking for. So it won't just be deliver, transport folks to their destination as you see fit. Yes. So.
Correct. That's not going to hold it in the contract. So will you solicit input from this commission and others as you develop those standards? Because I think that's what I'm hearing is a piece that might be missing from these focus areas.
Great question. I would have to. May I follow up with you all on that?
If you could, we would appreciate that. If that just can be noted in the minutes, because that is a very important consideration. And so before we move on, do other commissioners have any comments to add to that notion of a 5th focus area, that service standards?
I think that's a very good idea. I would be surprised to find that service standards were something that was infrequently commented on, but I know there were some issues. People didn't love the format of the old survey, so I'm wondering if maybe it might be that some folks just didn't answer that particular survey with that particular concern. But definitely, as chair of the accessibility subcommittee, I've seen issues with service standards and issues with how the county, holds the contract holders to the current standards. I've seen come up over and over. So, yeah.
Now let me say, for where we are with this engagement that's going to happen on Wednesday, adding that 5th focus area likely is not going to be possible by Wednesday. Okay, I just wanted to be clear that
Fair,
for those
fair.
that attend, the boards that they will see will be around those focus areas that I presented. But I haven't noted that service standards are a concern of this committee, as far as holding the contractor to those specific service standards.
Well, and this is Commissioner Karen, and soliciting input from this commission and others about what those, having input on those standards, what is acceptable and not acceptable, and what exceeds expectations.
I will talk with our purchasing folks to see what would be the procedure to do that. I'm not a procurement professional, but I need to make sure to check
Essential
with them.
skill. Thank you. And I see that Brian has been patient. He has his hand up.
Yeah, just adding my voice to the choir on the service standard request. You know, when it comes to oversight of contractors, of course, it's a very important part for us to have as a commission, to ensure that Arlington taxpayer funds and other taxpayer funds, wherever they come from, whether from the state or the federal, I definitely would be very interested to hear what the procurement team has to say on that. But yeah, just wanted to, join the choir on this and make sure it was on the record, but looking forward to hearing more.
Okay. Is there further comment?
Doris.
Doris, please, go ahead.
Okay. First, the most important service performance standards are the performance standards that are in the ADA Title II regulations for ADA paratransit. And that's what should be met, and that's what, in our comments at the meeting in September, as well as the comments that have been put forth by commenters to the accessibility subcommittee, as well as the TAC itself, have entailed, and I'm not, so I don't understand why there wouldn't be solicitation of writers about their experience with those particular, and they're very specific, and they're in the federal regulations. And then secondly, the FTA requirements for things like public engagement and notice, the communications plan, as well as grievance policies, complaint procedures, and grievance policies. That's all in the requirements for grants from FTA. And then I wanted to ask, which I don't think this has been asked, can you explain what accommodations will be provided, if any, for this event on January 31? And I did not see in the statement announcing this event an ADA compliance statement that is usual for all Title II entities, as well as a statement about who to contact about accommodations for the meeting. And again, as you know, I am not aware that there was enough time and notice for Independence Center of Northern Virginia or any of the disability advocacy groups to know about, plan to come to, or request accommodations. So, how are you going to get how are you going to provide accommodations if you're going to provide them, up front without people asking for them? And where is the statement that tells the public where they can come to request accommodations? And this is only, this is actually only 24 hours before, because this is the end of the day on Monday. It's 36 hours or whatever before this meeting is going to have, this input session is going to have.
Yes,
please go ahead.
Under accessibility resources, there's a statement that says, for special accommodations for people with disabilities or language translation, please email ePotter at least 7 days prior to the meeting. So that is on the county website. Then to your second point.
It's on the county website with an announcement about the STAR meeting, or just generally?
On the STAR Focus Area Engagement Open House announcement about the open house on Wednesday, it has accessibility resources, and for those that would like a accommodation, to contact someone in our CAPES team to receive that accommodation.
So if somebody requested a sign language interpreter, they would have only had from last Thursday until now to make that request. Would you have fulfilled the request for a sign language interpreter, or is there a notice requirement? A number of days.
Again, this information was on the county website the week of January 16th. So anyone that wanted to attend
of it until
in person,
the individual notice. Right.
So hi Doris, this is Courtney.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I will say, in terms of accommodations like that, we are contracted with a vendor, and usually our once a department has been notified, our CAPE team will coordinate and work with the department. So it's no problem to get that or accommodations that may be needed. Usually they'll reach out to me, or like Bryna Hefner would be the point of contacts for those for situations such as that.
Okay, but so let me ask you this. I didn't see anything on there that told me where to go if I was going to go for an assisted listening system. In fact, when I got this when I got this from somebody else, I might add, I didn't get it directly myself at ECNV. I was I was wondering, if I go to this, is there going to be an assisted listening system? Are there going to be alternative formats? But I was just curious whether there was going to be an assisted listening system there, for example. I mean, is that something that you've all planned for up front? I mean, we're talking about an event for, at least for the ridership of people who are definitely probably going to need accommodations. So did you include any provision for that?
So there's
like already having sign language interpreters there, or I mean, this is the problem with the notice not being adequate.
Okay. Go ahead, Courtney. Did you have feedback?
Well, no, I was just going to say, with the new hearing loop device that we have, I know that CAPE is very good at letting us know to host events that have those capabilities in it, and I believe the room at Central Library does have that. So they have trained professionals there who are able to assist, and it's ready on demand to check out. But I do get your point and understand what you're saying, Doris. I do. I get it. I'm going to look over the website as well to see how I can improving my end. But I do know those 2 instances we do have vendors and backups in the event a request is received, and usually they'll contact me. But I do understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you, Courtney.
I'm also saying organizations like ECNV are wanting not just to have a staff meeting about it, but are wanting to see something that they can distribute out on a
I got you.
Newsletter.
Okay, I got you.
Okay,
and
thank
NFB
you.
And ACB and United Spinal and whoever else, and VRC. So.
Okay, so I think in the interest of time, thank you, Mr. Edwards, for coming and sharing this with you. And if we could note in the minutes that we have requested clarification on the communication plan, and especially the advance notice requirement, and that we've noted concern that services will be provided as needed, preparing in advance, given the audience for this engagement session. So thanks very much for attending.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Our next order of business is to discuss and award the regional grants for fiscal years 25 and 26. And I believe I turn it over to Courtney.
So actually the chair would do this because,
okay.
You guys discussed that.
Yeah. Okay. I might need some guidance because it's my first time through. So I am happy to lead. We were presented with 4 proposals to rate and discuss. My understanding is these are current grant holders, so they are asking for funds to continue and perhaps in some cases expand their programs. And we were asked to score those programs. So Courtney, for clarification, what do you require from us?
So the scoring process was to assist in the elimination at times, and Alexa and Doris are probably more versed than I've this is like maybe my 3rd or 4th time. But typically the scoring process is to help in terms of eliminating or rating. But this fiscal year and last fiscal year, there were 4 that applied. So we have the same 4, and I think maybe that's unprecedented. I don't think we've had that before. Typically we've had 5 in the past. So these are the same ones that applied for the current fiscal year. Unless somebody may have concerns about renewing or awarding the same grantees, then I turn it over to the commissioners to express that and for you guys to decide, or if you may choose to continue the same amount that was awarded the last time with the same 4. It's up to you.
Okay,
Madam
and Courtney,
Chair.
for clarification, is there funding available for all 4?
Yes, so the pocket of money is $111,910. So what was done last year or last fiscal year was that it was split 4 ways evenly, and that gave us a balance of let me get my calculator. I'm sorry. So each awardee received $27,977.50. And that was split 4 ways.
Okay.
So that's the pot of money that we had, and that was the situation, because one year 5 were received, and so the decision was made not to award the 5th one, so it went down to 4, splitting the 4 evenly, and then these are the same 4 that have applied for this fiscal year. I think Commissioner Alexa was about to say something.
Alexa, go ahead.
All I was going to do was ask you, Courtney, if we had split it 4 ways evenly, or if we had given more money to one of them, because I recall at one point in the past we had talked about that, but I couldn't remember what we had decided to do. So, I'm not sure, how folks feel about it this go round, but I will say that I think that just from what I've seen and what I've observed, the question that we've struggled with is, if we change any of these amounts, it means we're giving one organization more than they've gotten in the past, which is good for them, but it means we're giving another one less. And so I definitely have opinions about which proposals were written the best, but whether that means it could be that let's say organization A has a great need, but organization A has someone who's not particularly great at grammar. I'm the kind of nitpicker that will notice the grammar, and I'm glad to say so, but at the same time, I don't want to make it sound like I don't think the organization has a need. And so part of what I was thinking that we might want to talk about was kind of if people noticed the same things I did and how other folks felt about it, just because it's always kind of been something where I've been, well, I know that population exists in Arlington County because I've met some of them. I'm not sure this proposal words it perfectly, but what do I do with that? So.
Okay, thanks, Alexis. So go ahead, Doris.
Okay, well, so, and I agree with Alexa. My question is, based on requested money, will that take, what based on what they're requesting, does that take up the entire grant pool of money? If each organization got what they requested, or is there money?
Courtney, can you please provide clarification, because I don't have all that in front of me? Yeah, because yeah, go ahead.
Let me just get I had the sheet with the numbers. Let me just get that up real quick. Go ahead.
I would have thought we'd grant, if we're just gonna grant because we feel they're all valuable services and unique, and we're fine with their meeting, goals and objectives, then the reason I was asking the question about the pot is I'm not sure why we would give an even grant to everybody. Is this what you're pointing to, Alexa? That's the way I took it. Why?
That's not exactly what I meant, Doris, but it is a very good question. If it happens to be the case that everybody asked for less than we're, than we can provide, then we have an easy decision. We can give everybody what they wanted and then decide how to divide up the rest. That would be lovely. I don't know if that's the case. I can't say that I studied them in detail enough to know that specifically.
This is Commissioner Karen.
What would happen? What's the rule if the request as a total of these four organizations don't exceed the pot? Does what's left over can it be rolled over into the next competition, so there's more money for the next competition?
No, it has to
Yeah.
be,
It's
all
earmarked.
used. Yeah.
So this is Karen
or for
again.
the next year. I mean, it's a 2-year project, right? But
Right. This money's been allocated for this purpose. It's called under Title III for regional grants. So it would all have to be used within the 2 awarded out and used.
Within the 2 years or for each
Well,
year?
awarded. So that would be split up with the 2 fiscal years, but we can't say, let's roll this over or anything like that. Now, I think in the past, what happened, there was a situation where the commissioners had some left over and it was divided 4 ways back into evenly or within whatever that was. So it has to be, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I recall.
Courtney, for clarification, is the $111,910 per fiscal year or the total for the 2 fiscal years?
That is for the 2 fiscal years. So
the total available funds are
hold on. Hold on. I got 3 things up here. Let me look at that first. Let me just confirm that. So it's per fiscal year. So that one would be for the first fiscal year, and then for the second. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you
Perfect.
for that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that one organization, MWE, they only asked for 15,874. So.
Which organization did you say?
MWE.
Metropolitan Washington.
Right.
And then that. Well, that's interesting. The other reason that's interesting is if we could roll over into the second year, I was going to suggest that one of the things, but no matter what we decide here for this grant period and for which organizations, whether we're going to have them all get grants, no matter what we decide, I would like to see it be contingent that continued it be contingent on us doing some more monitoring, and from time to time this commission has spent more time monitoring performance and having them come in and report directly to the commission, and I think we should pick that up again, because particularly not last year, but particularly several years ago, when we granted, we made grants to all of them because we had the money to do that. We did request that they come in more regularly to report to us. So, but we haven't been doing it the last few years. So, I mean, you recall that, Alexa, right? We would have them come in.
Yeah, one of the concerns that I had, and again, I'd like to hear what some other commissioners think on this if they have an opinion, is some of this kind of seems to me like comparing apples to oranges. Like, let me pull up where I took my notes. For example, um, brain injury services, from what I recall, they were talking specifically about funding one Arlington case manager. We either serve Arlington or we don't. Like the job that I am losing, I was one of the case managers for Alexandria. There's no more Alexandria grant. That organization will no longer serve Alexandria. And then, when NVRC says we'd only serve Arlingtonians who have paid dues, which kind of seems a little similar. Columbia Lighthouse, I really couldn't figure out how their case management worked. And Metropolitan Washington EAR stressed the importance of getting important news, like, for example, news about the pandemic, to people that otherwise wouldn't be able to get that news. All of those sound important, but how do I compare them one to the other? That's one of the things that I just kind of noticed and kind of went, how do, and I think,
especially because like the EAR and the Columbia Lighthouse especially are offering services that blind people can't get any other place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the Columbia Lighthouse, because things like having a reader and shopper program, that is something, that is something that blind people, particularly if they're living alone, really, really need. And there is no organization that's doing that. Zip. And the services that NVRC offers as well are very unique to the deaf and hard of hearing community. So that's, I think we should be looking into making, getting some better feel, after 6 months or so, give them time to really start being able to report some numbers for us. That, because all these organizations, BIS as well, are doing unique services. That's one of the advantages of giving them these grants, is they're doing unique services for particular constituency.
Thank you, Doris. So, Courtney, were you able to identify what each group requested?
Am I on? Okay, sorry, I didn't know if my mic was, if I was muted. I was about to talk. I have all these screens up. So yes, I'm still double checking. I had this out. I'm not sure why it's not coming up, but just give me a second just to double check. So NVRC requested 22,448. Brain Injury Services requested 28,539. Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind requested $28,429. And then Metropolitan Washington EAR did request 15,874. So that actually puts us under the, I believe it was like 95. Let me just get that number up to you. $95,290. So that leaves us with a difference of, what did I say that's total was? 16,000. $16,620.
Okay, thank you. This is Commissioner Karen again. I want to pose a different question. Are there comments around any organization that we don't wish to fund at all? If we didn't really get, I didn't give you the opportunity to share if you had that feedback.
I would say that from my experience, they all provide things that I haven't heard that people could get from other places, which is one of the reasons why I'm thinking, you know, if people don't have specific thoughts, and I haven't really heard any yet on the specifics of the proposals, maybe we just want to give everybody what they asked for and then split the overage.
Okay, any other comments?
I would tend to agree with Alexa because, and the only thing, if we're turning back money, you know, if there is money left over, should we suggest to county staff that if they want in negotiations, if they want to provide additional funding, we need to hear from the organizations what they're going to give us beyond, you know, the request. In other words, are they going to serve more people or something like that? But does that make it too complicated, Courtney?
Yeah, so we can't, the application didn't indicate that, so we can't like change it. But I think for this is something that you want to implement, we could definitely work on it for the next fiscal year to implement in the application. But we wouldn't be able to kind of put a stipulation to it in terms of, because that wasn't clarified, that wasn't outlined in the application process, if that makes sense.
But if there's less, like if there were more organizations, does the county staff take this and say, like, if we don't get appropriated the same amount in the budget for not 25 but 26, because these grants go over FY 25 and 26, correct?
Yeah, this is
So
for 25,
if we
26.
don't get enough, if we're not going to get enough from the county because they have to cut back or something, do they? I think there's negotiation that goes on, right? Or what if there's less money? Or not?
Yeah, I can double check. I'm not sure. My understanding is that this specific fund money has always been allocated for regional grants, regardless. So, but I can definitely ask and follow back up. But I do know at this juncture, we would need to get back to the board by the end of this month with the recommendation. So I don't know if that I would be able to answer that before the 30th, because DAC would need to vote on and provide award recommendations to the board.
What's your suggestion for spending the 16?
Doris, are you asking Courtney?
Yeah, I'm asking the staff.
Oh. I mean, that once again, that's up to at your discretion, up to you. I think the last time this had happened, I think you mentioned what the commissioners did was they split it 4 ways just to kind of redistribute back to that. Now, MWE, the 22-20
would have split 4 ways the excess and not
Yeah, the excess. That's what I'm referring
Correct.
to. So there's an excess of 16,000. So that was
That's
split
four.
4 ways. Yes, yeah.
That's what I'm proposing, yes. I think Bryant has his hand up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just to clarify, the last time we did this, well, that this commission did this, it was split 4 ways. I know, that's a long ways back to reach in our minutes, but do we know if the splitting 4 ways fully funded the request and then provided the additional funds?
That's a great question. So actually, because there was 5, the funding was a little bit different. So some of the organizations experienced a decrease in their funding. So with this is actually a bit, well, I'm not sure about Metropolitan Washington area, that because right now they're receiving about 27,000. That's what they're all receiving. So they've actually decreased their funding. But for Columbian Lighthouse, BIS, and NVRC, those would be, well, actually NVRC has also decreased as well. So we have 2 organizations that have decreased what they've asked previously, but that time, yes, it was a significant decrease for some. And then of course the one that wasn't no longer continued funded, they didn't receive anything.
Okay, and that leads to a second question, if I may ask. My background's more in RFP, so any overages are kind of like, you can't spend at that point in time. When it comes to grants, are we allowed to do this with the overage?
To redistribute, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so once again, it's whatever the commission decides and votes on, how they want to award. And that's why the board is eager to hear, to see how this is allocated. It's up to the commissioners, how you guys want to,
Okay. And go ahead, another comment?
No, that was just all my question. I just want to make sure it's like, yeah, we're, the state allows us to do this.
Okay. So is our next step, I guess my question is, we did not discuss the merits of each proposal. In the interest of time, I mean, I'm looking at what time it is. Are there any burning comments? I mean, what I heard was that these are worthwhile projects, that the providers provide unique services that aren't available elsewhere. Would someone like to make a motion to fund all 4, and then proportionally dividing the remaining $16,000 among the 4 organizations? So that would result in an increase for each organization of approximately $4,000 over what they requested. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I would have, before there's a second, I would have the competing notion. I want to know what happens if we turn back $16,000.
Courtney?
In other words, if the county sees us turn back $16,000 because we didn't spend it all, is there any risk that in future years of this grant authority that we would get less? Or if we did what is the cleanest thing, which would be grant what was asked, then and then actually have this proviso about coming and reporting as they're going to make sure we're staying on track, then we're going to have $16,000 that we didn't award. So 2 years from now, do we have assurance that the county will not diminish the grant from at least the 110.11 that we have this year, just because we only gave 95 this year?
I'd have to go to DMF with that question. I don't know. I have to go to the finance.
Is that an important question for anybody else here? Because I think that perhaps, you know, we should vote to grant the proposals for the amount requested. It's just that I'm concerned that the grant authority is so small and so they're getting such small grants that I don't want, at least by doing this, that we risk not getting the full amount 2 years from now.
Courtney, this is Commissioner Karen again. Can you?
But I think it's fairer if we're going to say, okay, you know, I guess the question is the question that I think the chair has asked tonight, which is there anybody that, or anything that you've seen in their proposals would suggest that you don't think they should be funded at all, right? Or at a lesser amount or something. Wasn't that what you were partly getting to?
Yes, that was, I was giving the opportunity for commissioners to, if there were any concerns about a particular organization, to voice them. So thus far, I haven't heard that, other than comments, and I would concur about some proposals being somewhat sloppy in the preparation.
Yeah. But that's why I'm suggesting we have the proviso with this, that they need to be regularly reporting to us on, and specifically on their goal plan, whether they're keeping up with the goal plan.
I think asking for, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So what, and I did hear mention of 6 months, of periodically.
No, I said give them 6 months, you know, 3 months for startup, and even though it's continuing.
Right, and then come back at 6-month intervals to report, to
so
present.
I mean, there are 4 organizations, so we could have them back in at least twice, I would think, over 2 years.
Okay. Alexa, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think keeping an eye on what they're doing is a good idea. How quickly, Courtney, would you be able to find out, you know, if we lose that money, if we don't spend it? Because I'm feeling at this moment, and I'm not saying that my mind couldn't change, but I'm feeling at this moment that we probably should spend what we have, so as not to risk, oh, these organizations don't really need it.
So I'm supposed to provide the recommendation tomorrow, because they've been waiting on it. Actually, they've been asking me since November. So I told them that we were meeting on the 16th. They followed up with me on the 17th. I told them we were meeting on the 29th, and I said, I promise I'll get something to you on the 30th. So, I mean, I can ask tomorrow, but then the question becomes, we have to vote and do all that before the 30th.
Brian, you have your hand raised, and I saw Nicolette shaking your head as if you had a comment. So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, one thing I will say in terms of our current grant process, I know former board member Katie Crystal was working on a project to looking at reforming our grant process. I'm not sure which member or staff is currently still going through that reform process. I guess that's a question for the board, but I do know it was looking at our grant process through an equity lens. So I'm not sure if that will have any impact for the 2025-2026 grant years. But I did want to put that, in regards to looking for our grant decision in 2026. And then saying, do we have guarantees that the county board won't take away the $12,000? No. They're elected to make that decision, and we're appointed to give them our recommendations. I would say the motion proposed by Alexa is our best opportunity to provide our grantees their funding, and also saying, hey, there is extra funding this year. Maybe you should consider that in your 2025-2026 requests. And then it's sort of, that positions the board's thinking, saying, we believe in the missions of these community organizations, and we believe that the funding levels currently given to us by the county is sufficient, and that the funds given to us should remain for the FY 2025 and FY 2026. No, sorry, FY 2026, 2027. It's a 2-year. But yeah, I just wanted to put those finishing comments before our vote.
Nicolette, did you have a comment?
Let me understand what you just said. Are you suggesting that the excess money be given to an organization that has not filed a proposal with us?
No, I'm agreeing to our current motion of funding at the requested levels from our grantees, and then the remaining balance split equally amongst our grantees.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nicolette, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think I have the same concern as Doris of as somebody who also works with finances at a different level, just knowing if we don't spend that money, it most likely will be cut back. There's a greater chance of it being cut back. And I think these are already small grants as it is. And what if in 2 years we have additional grantees that also have great missions? So I'm inclined to kind of agree with Bryant on awarding what they asked for, and then if possible splitting the rest 4 ways so that it's at least spent.
Okay, thank you.
Could I suggest then, given your comment, what I would like to suggest is that if we do it that way, then we say we're sending you money back, but we do know that this grant authority that we have has not had any increases for tons of years. It's been, static, and that we think that we should be judging people's proposals on what they say they needed, right? And monitor that performance, and then, but we do not want to lose. We want to keep certainly the grant program funded for the next 2-year cycle at what it has or increased, because there's no real work in it. I don't think it's fair to say we're going to give you a bonus, just because we had more money.
Brian, go ahead.
Quick question for Courtney. Which board meeting would this be heard at?
That's a good question. Let me see. The DMF finance person reached out to me and I send them a letter letting them know what the commission has appointed. I wonder if they always need this by like the end, no later than by the end of January. We can't do after January. Let me see if she has, hold on.
Do you think we've come to consensus so that we could just,
Vote.
Yes. The reason I'm asking Courtney for the dates of the county board meeting is that we as a commission can send a representative to that meeting to provide our commission's comments for the next cycle. So what I would propose, and I'm volunteering myself first because I know those meetings can be difficult for work schedules and other commitments, but if anyone else wants to do it, please feel free. But I would read our minutes that Courtney provides to the board, so it's on a grander scale of saying it's like we're giving this funding, the commission would like to keep this funding to the next cycle, and here are some other concerns we've had, so it's in their record and they can take that going forward. Because I'm not sure if our liaison reads our minutes. I hope they do, but this is another opportunity for us to put it in front of the board, so they can keep it in mind when they move forward with those decisions.
All right, so this is actually going to go in the documents. So they are preparing the budget narratives documents that are part of the county manager's FY 2025 proposed budget in February. So this is going to be part of the county manager's proposed budget in February. And I can ask her what exactly the meeting that they'll be going over this and get that to you. Let me make a note here.
This is Commissioner Karen again. And I confess that I'm a little bit confused. Especially based on what Brian and Doris said. Brian and Doris, am I hearing correctly that you're proposing that we fund all 4 proposals at the requested level, that we, if the term's correct, give back the $16,000, but also make a statement to the board in our minutes that we endorse in future years the amount that was initially put forward of $111,000 to address our concerns that even though we fund all of these 4 proposals, that the board considers the funding levels for the future years.
So still keeping our main motion of,
but is yeah, something of the nature. I don't want them to reduce the fund in the next 2 years cycle.
Yeah. So for me, still keep it at our current motion of presented, splitting the remaining balance equally.
Okay.
With the comments of saying, yeah, keep our same level for the next cycle.
Okay, because
or allow us to roll over, and reprogram, which is what the feds do.
Well, Doris, I'm going back to that comment. Courtney, I understand if the funding's allocated for fiscal years 25 and 26, it can't be rolled over. It's got to be spent for 25.
I mean to consider for 27 and 28. Maybe piloting the idea of rollover.
Okay. So can we go back to voting on the motion that was put forward. So the motion that was put forward and seconded was to approve these 4 organizations at the level that they requested, and acknowledging that there's approximately $16,000 remaining to divide the difference among the 4 organizations, requests that they provide periodic status reports over the next 2 fiscal years. And then, so that is the vote.
May I make may I interject? So regarding the status reports, I can coordinate that, but just keep in mind if they don't come, we can't withhold not paying the invoice. Because once again,
Right,
I wasn't.
we didn't,
okay.
Yeah, and I don't think we said, I didn't hear anybody make comments to that respect. Okay, so if we could vote on that motion.
Aye.
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 Doris, are you voting in the affirmative?
Oh, yes.
Great, is that everyone? Okay, Courtney, thank you so much. You've been very patient. I know this has been a very drawn out process. Thank you, everyone. We should all take a breather. Okay, our next item, actually, I'm gonna jump to Justin because Justin is not here this evening, so we'll pass over that item. I actually, and then our next order will be to approve our minutes. So first, it is to approve the September 19th minutes that had edits that were provided, I believe, by Doris. So is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I so move.
And is there okay, so those minutes are approved. Then we move to the October minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So move.
And
Second.
thank you. And then we go to the November minutes from November 21st. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is Rose Ann Ashby asked us to comment on her letter. Now that some time has passed, I'm going to ask Alexa, is there any update to the request for us to comment on that letter?
Was that the letter that she sent to the chair of the TAC? Remind me.
That was the, she is requesting that the subcommittee size be expanded to accommodate from 3 members up to 7, so that
that was
that the
voted on.
community is better
That was
represented.
voted on by the TAC and they approved it. So
Okay,
I think that one is that's already happened. So unless there were objections to it.
okay. Well, that's easy. That's taken care of. Okay. Thanks everybody for your patience. We're really going on. It's my report. The only item is the acting chair that I have to report is I did go to the art 25th anniversary celebration earlier this week. I was able to attend. There was, how can I put this? There weren't any references about STAR or the community. It was a celebration. They talked about art and art in the larger metropolitan community. So, and I do plan, if I test negative for COVID by then, I do plan to attend the STAR engagement session on Wednesday, so I don't have anything to share as the acting chair. Liaison reports, Doris from the Site Plan Review Commission, what do you have to share?
There haven't been any in this.
Okay, thank you. Alexa from the Transit Advisory Commission Accessibility Subcommittee.
Yeah, I pretty much already said it, that motion was approved. So the subcommittee will hopefully be expanding, and hopefully people will, will be able to keep a better eye on attendance and things like that, which were some of the things that, we were struggling with. And, I'm glad to see where it goes, because I've definitely felt that I need a bit of help with some of this stuff. The issues are very important, and I don't want, the things that are important to the community to end up, line 57 in some giant report somewhere that no one ever looks at. So I'm happy to see that we were able to make that happen, and I'm hoping, that it improves matters. I expect that it will, but that is my hope. So.
Okay, and thank you for everything that you've done. I know that you've just been a fearless advocate.
Thank
Doris,
you so much.
Doris, any updates from the Housing Commission?
Not really. It was the beginning of the year, and the meeting, in that meeting, there was an approval related to the financing of Barcroft and going ahead with phase 1 of Barcroft, but the renovation of Barcroft Apartments, and then the rest of it was adopting their annual plan for the coming calendar year, and their report of the past calendar year. So there'll be more action coming forward in February. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. And then Doris, what about WMATA?
Well, the big thing with WMATA is the announcement that if we are not able to get funding both from the state of Virginia to fund a maintenance and operational fund that is administered by the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. The state of Virginia gives money that's put in a fund that's then administered by the Transportation Commission, Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, for projects related to maintenance and for projects related to operations of Metro Bus, Metro Rail, and Metro Access. And if that fund is not allowed to increase its contribution to WMATA beyond a cap of 3% in any 1 year, so that WMATA can get sufficient funding from its 3 jurisdictions, meaning Northern Virginia, the Maryland suburbs, and DC, that they will fall short of balancing their budget. Right now, they're facing a huge budget shortfall of $750 million. And if they don't get the money, at least if Virginia doesn't live up to its end of what's going to be needed, then drastic service cuts, at least a third to maybe even half of bus routes, could be either cut or they could be eliminated. And additionally, cuts in the operating hours of metro stations, cutting them back to 10 p.m. rather than midnight every night, and cutting if a bus line survives being eliminated, there might be significant cuts in their hours of operation. And the boomerang effect is that for Metro Access users and patrons, which Arlington residents are included among because you have to be eligible for Metro Access in order to get Star, then Metro Access will experience service cuts based on the ADA minimum alignment, and the alignment says that if a bus route is eliminated altogether and there's no other bus route that's within 3/4 of a mile of that bus route, if there's no other alternative, then you could lose all your Metro Access service on that, if you're living on that line. So, like over in this Route 50 area where there is a bus route that goes up and down Route 50 and goes over down onto Pershing. If this is a bad example because there are adjoining bus routes, but it would make your trip as a person with disability reliant on bus service more difficult, at least, because like over where I live on Route 50, if the 4B line were to be cut, then you'd have to walk all the way over to Wilson Boulevard to get a bus. Okay, and then the metro, but for people further out or who want to go, so if I wanted to take a trip on Metro Access from where I am here in North Arlington, then and I wanted to go to Burke in Fairfax County or to Fair Oaks, I might not be able to get back because whatever bus line that's the only one, say, on traveling up 236 to Fairfax City, I might not be able to get where I'm going and come back from where I went, So the point is that it will have a very chilling effect on Metro Access service. And I don't know, what Star's position will be if that goes into effect. If any of these cuts go into effect, it will be July 1. So this is something that I don't know. We need to be, number one, communicating with our state legislators right now to fully fund Metro, period, the end. Because if they fully fund it, there'll be no cuts to Metro Access. But we also need to be communicating with our representatives on the WMATA board, because WMATA hearings on its own budget will be held either at the end of February or the beginning of March. It's looking more like it'll be the beginning of March. And we need to be communicating to our county board as a whole, and particularly to our representative on the county board to WMATA to not, to fully fund, the operating budget from the county to Metro Access. So it's two things that are going to affect whether WMATA is going to be able to balance its budget. One is the money coming from the state legislature to the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission for funding maintenance and for funding some operation costs for Metro Access. But it's also all of our local jurisdictions are going to have to increase their line item in the county budget for the operating subsidy for WMATA, or will face drastic cuts. So all of this is taking place for the General Assembly. There has to, we may only be, we can talk to the county board, to talk to the state state legislators representing Arlington to make sure they're shored up. Our trip last Wednesday, all indications are that the entire Arlington delegation is weighed in on full funding for WMATA. But we need to keep encouraging them not to negotiate anything away, because they really need to increase that cap and allow all the funding that's necessary to come to WMATA to deal with the budget. And then we need to be encouraging consumers as well to come to the WMATA budget hearings, and our county board member who's on the WMATA board to be working. And that's actually Brian.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Doris. That was really thorough. Brian, there's two items for you. The VHC Health Behavioral Wellness Facility is the first one.
Say that again.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah, no problem, Doris. I'm providing my report of the VHC Behavioral Wellness Facility. Currently in a holding pattern. I believe the first thing that has to occur is that the Commissioner of Health with the Department of Health has to certify what's called a certificate of public need to authorize us to have this facility in Arlington. And once that's done, and I think they typically usually approve those facilities, then it would move into an SPRC. And I think Doris usually sits on those. But yeah, that's our current status for now.
Okay, thank you. And Brian, you also have the joint task force with the Aging Commission.
Yeah, I believe we sent our recommendations to the Aging Commission, and for those who need for a reminder, that was it was sort of a checklist of things to ask for when it comes to site plans. I know there's a couple of, I think there is a couple of bills down in Richmond that are addressing some of the items we had in that list. So hopefully those bills go through and are approved by the governor. But other than that, I think we can count this as my final report.
Excellent, thank you.
Mhm.
I believe we've gone through all our items of business and we have 8 minutes left. Thank you so very much for bearing with my fumbling through some aspects of sharing the meeting. I appreciate it. Courtney, I was just going to ask you, what do you have?
Okay, Commissioner Bryant, is the joint force with Aging Commission, was that a one-time thing, or is that would that be ongoing? Would you like me to keep that on the agenda?
Take it off for now, and if aging reaches out, we'll throw it back on. But I think we're done for now until after the GA session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Courtney, did you have anything else?
The only thing I had was our communications team. They shared that if you go on our website, and I'll send the link for it or a screenshot, our landing page does have, it's called the accessibility, I think it's called by peer person. I forgot the name of the organization. Nonetheless, it's accessibility button at the bottom of the page or wherever you're landing at. It should hover kind of right there within the view where you can change the contrast, use the screen reader, embedded screen reader, so built-in accessibility. So the communications team wanted me to share that with DAC, and I'll send out the link for that so that you can look around and play around with it. Mm-hmm.
That would be excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, any other business? Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
And seconded.
Second.
Excellent. Thanks so much, everybody.
And let me stop the recording.